How many of you remember the sermon last week? All right. Would you remember it better if I said, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power? I got the motions down and everything. What? You don't? All right. Well, He-Man is available for you to watch and understand the reference. And there was a reason that Josh brought it up, and it's not the only part that stuck with me. I just want to be clear. I listened to the whole sermon, and all I heard was He-Man. I was like, yeah! No. As Josh was talking about last week, James here is in the process of talking to his fellow Jews, helping them to understand how it is that they should be living their lives, helping them to understand how to react with the pressures that they're under. Does anybody other than a few people understand why he was even writing this letter? Do you understand what was going on with the Jews, especially the Jewish Christians? No, precisely the persecution, Mother. They're being persecuted. There was a reason that he starts out to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Why do you think they were scattered? Jerusalem was not a great place to be if you were a Christian. For one thing, Paul didn't have to go far to find you. He was Saul at the time. But there was a lot of persecution going on. And it wasn't just the the true Jewish people seeking out these Christians that were blaspheming. It was I don't know. I mean, from all different sides. You ever feel like that? Like you're just getting it from all different sides. The government's coming after you because you didn't pay your taxes, or your landlord's coming after you because you didn't cut a shrub exactly right or mow your lawn. Your friends are all hassling you because they don't like something that you did. You can't seem to catch a break. I've had a couple of those days. In fact, this last month has been just one thing after another. And this passage really speaks to me. Isn't that weird how it happens, right? You start reading a passage, and it just so happens that you're going through something that the passage will just speak to you. You'll be like, wow, how is it possible that this could be speaking to me about the stuff that I'm going through right now? Well, that's the way God works. So I had the opportunity to spend time not only studying these words, but to try to put into practice some of those things. And it's not an easy thing all the time. In fact, sometimes it's very, very difficult, especially when you break your favorite tablet. Right? I mean, all these other things I could take, but come on, a tablet? But even in that, God provides for opportunities and use of things. So let us go ahead and take opportunity to read from James and then talk about these words and to put them into context for us for our lives. So we're in chapter 5 of James. And I'm going to start in verse 7 and go through 11 today. So, dear brothers and sisters, be patient as you wait for the Lord's return. Consider the farmers who patiently wait for the rains of the fall and in the spring. They eagerly look for the valuable harvest to ripen. You too must be patient. Take courage, for the coming of the Lord is near. Don't grumble about each other, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. For look, the judge is standing at the door. For examples of patience in suffering, dear brothers and sisters, look at the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. We give great honor to those who endure suffering. For instance, you know about Job, a man of great endurance. You can see how the Lord was kind to him at the end, for the Lord is full of tenderness and mercy. So there is a reason that he starts out talking to his dear brothers and sisters, to rekindle that relationship in the midst of this letter, to make sure that everybody's on the same page and there's an understanding. And remember, these aren't broken up by verses and chapters. It's a letter that flows. So what was he talking about right before he talks about patience and suffering? Does anybody remember? So you may be familiar with James chapter 5. Look here, you rich people. Weep and groan with anguish because of all the terrible troubles ahead of you. Your wealth is rotting away, and your fine clothes are moth-eaten rags. Your gold and silver have become worthless. The very wealth you were counting on will eat away your flesh like fire. This treasure you have accumulated will stand as evidence against you in the day of judgment. For listen, hear the cries of the field workers who you have cheated their pay. The wages that you have held back cry out against you. The cries of those who harvest your fields have reached the ears of the Lord of heaven's armies. You have spent your years on the earth in luxury, satisfying your every desire, and you have fattened yourself on the day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed innocent people who do not resist you. Dear brothers and sisters, be patient as you wait for the Lord's return. There's a change in tone right then and there as he spends time condemning those that would persecute, those that would look down upon, withhold wages from, literally put to death innocent people, all for the fattening of their own purse strings, all so they could enjoy all the benefits that life would give you. Then he reconnects and says, brothers and sisters, this I tell you, be patient. Be patient, because the Lord is returning. So what is the call to be? We've talked long about the use of the word patience here. Now this, I really would like you guys to respond. What does patience mean in this context? Thank you. Thank you. And there is a Greek word that is associated with that is a combination of two separate Greek words, and now it's our favorite time where James mispronounces ancient Greek. Macrothumia. I actually did that one right. Praise God. So that is the combination of two different words combined together, meaning long and anger, suffering combined together. So this is a different type of patience or endurance, as we understand. In the beginning of James, we are called to have endurance, though we face trials of many kinds, knowing that the testing of our faith will produce perseverance. That is hupomone. I told you I'd mispronounce one. All right. It's a different kind. It means to bear up under trials. So it still has the same kind of connotation to it, but this is specific. So he's talking to the rich people, smacking them down a little bit, and then he turns to his brothers and sisters and he says, listen, endure, suffer long, because you know that the Lord is coming soon. So what is the reason for them to endure what is happening to them? Because God's coming soon. Now, this may be difficult because when we look back at it, okay, this was written, and now it's 2015, and the Lord has not appeared to have come soon, right? Because our definition of soon, I would assume, is not, a couple thousand years, a couple hundred years, right? Your definition is probably a little bit more compact than that. But when you think about it, between Abraham and Moses, there's 430 years. There might be a little bit longer timetable than we're used to understand. That's something to keep in mind when you're like, well, wait a second here. How can he sit there and say that it's happening soon when it hasn't happened yet? We're dealing with time frames that we're just not capable of holding in our hands. We're not capable of fathoming length of time. To us, eternity seems like forever. But eternity is like a drop in a bucket. He brings forth the understanding of farmers. We have a few people that garden. But I'm pretty sure none of you are farmers. Some of you grew up with farms, right? Right? Okay. Got a couple of those. So, the farmer plants a seed. And while that seed is sprouting, while it's growing, while it's starting to produce its fruits, be it grains of wheat or, whatever, be it olive trees producing olives, what have you, there's this period of time where it doesn't really appear that anything is happening. Right? It takes a while. It takes a long while in our perspective. You plant something, and then 6 months later, you start to see something maybe. And if you're lucky and you're producing something that produces quick, you're planting wheat, for example, as opposed to, say, an apple orchard or a plum orchard. I mean, if you're planting a plum orchard, you're going to have to wait a little bit before you get any fruit. 2 to 5 years before any fruit is actually produced on a plum tree. So, the farmer understands that there is time in that element. There is an opportunity for them to wait upon the seed to do its thing. So we are called to bring to mind and consider the fact that they patiently wait for these things, understanding that they eagerly look forward to the valuable harvest. So not only are we supposed to long suffer, be patient, but we're supposed to look forward almost anxiously for the Lord to return. We've discussed this in Bible study. How is it that you can have patience but yet eagerly await at the same time? That's something that you'll need to figure out how you balance that out. And just in case that wasn't enough example, he brings forth the prophets. How many of you know of prophets that were listened to immediately? That were welcome in their own home. That never had any trouble with any, relationships, piece of cake, right? We even have, modern day prophets. We have people that have the gift of prophecy, and I don't know. Are all your interactions problem-free? But I'm asking these people, I guess. See, those people that have the gifts of prophecy, they can expect a little irritation with them at some point in time in the conversation. And believe it or not, it is they that have to suffer through people being irritated with them. Prophecy can destroy a relationship, but it's never from the prophet's side. It's from the people receiving the prophecy. The prophets can be killed. We don't really do a lot of that this day and age, so I'm pretty sure they're not worried about us rising up against them and killing them or anything. So, live in squalor. Not feel welcome in their own home. Have difficulty making friends. We're a relational type of people. These types of things are what, as humans, we crave. To have a family, to have friends, to have a deep relationship. And that's difficult when you're a prophet, because you have this need to make sure that people hear exactly what it is that they need to hear. And people have issues with that. We are also brought forth the example of Job. Job, so rich. He had everything you could ever want. Beautiful family, flocks upon flocks of animals, beautiful house, beautiful wife. All of these things. He was blessed among the blessed. And systematically, one by one, he had some really bad days. Every single thing that he had, that he was blessed with, was taken away from him. Just thinking of an inkling of some of the pain. We're not talking just mere possessions. His family was taken from him. His children, whom he loved. His wife. Everything stripped from him. But the reason that Job is used as an example, because in the midst of all of that, he didn't curse God. Though he had people to the left and right of him saying, hey, obviously you messed up. If you didn't mess up, why is all this happening to you? You either need to admit it or you need to blame him. Through in the midst of all of that wisdom, he never cursed God for it. And because he suffered through all of that, it was brought back tenfold. He was more blessed than the blessed than the blessed. Beautiful house, wife, children, flocks upon flocks upon flocks. Everything was given to him. There is a difficulty when we suffer long, when we don't react to the way that people that would oppress us expect us to react, when we don't lash out in anger, when we go through the various stages, the various things that Josh shared with you, the different responses, the oh, why me, or I'll deal with it later, or all of these types of things. I have the power. When you do that without the proper perspective, without the understanding that you are patiently waiting for the Lord to come, you have a tendency maybe to snipe at those that are around you. We have the stereotype of the, I'm thinking Mad Men right now. The man goes to work, works all day, doesn't quite get things his way. On the way home, because he's so depressed with how the day went and how demoralizing it was, he stops out at the bar, has a couple drinks with his friends. Then he gets home. All he wants to do is put his feet up, smoke a cigar, drink in hand, watch some TV. But he's got this family there. And there's expectations from the kids. Come play with us. Come go outside. Let's play tag. Let's play catch. Will you read to me? The wife saying, hey, are you going to fix that door? Are you going to get that lawn mowed? Because these things need to be done. All of this stuff piling up, and because instead of understanding that there is patience and long-suffering, and that is all geared towards the coming of the Lord, lash out. I'll do it when I want to, woman. I don't have time for you, children. Just let me sit and relax for a minute, will you please? You have no idea what I've gone through today. James says, don't grumble about each other, brothers and sisters, because if that's the way that you're going to react when you deal with all of these things bearing down upon you, if your refuge is to lash out because you feel helpless, because you don't have a proper context, you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. We have a way that we're supposed to treat each other. And sometimes when everything seems to be going down the toilet, we lash out at those that are right there being flushed with us. Because that's the only way that it feels safe. Don't fall into that trap. Don't forget that we are patiently waiting for the Lord to return. It's not just patiently waiting to patiently wait. To wait. When you're oppressed, fight that urge to fight back. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Learn to be patient, but not patient for the sake of being patient. I'm not talking about, man, I just can't wait for that new video game to come out. I can't wait until the second season of Daredevil is on Netflix. Right? I watched them too fast. I got sucked in. I'm not talking about that kind of patience. This is when you're being beat down, when everything seems to be going against you, when you get a 10-day notice from your landlord, when you have to make a trip 5 hours away, when your favorite tablet gets cracked in the freaking trunk. When all these things come down upon you, there is a proper way to react. So here's my question for you today. What is your understanding of long-suffering? We all have certain levels. Hopefully we have some kind of a base understanding after reading through James a little bit. What is your understanding of long-suffering? Second of all, why are you long-suffering? Why? And third, what are those things that you are patiently waiting for? Those are things to think of. So go ahead and break into your cell groups. Discuss those 3 questions and more. Those are just the party starter. Vroom, vroom. Away to cell groups.